In the middle of a busy city near a quiet street corner, a girl named Zara stood every day. She was not like other people. Her hair had a soft silver glow, and her eyes reflected light in a strange but gentle way. People who passed by often stopped and stared. Some thought she was a model. Others thought she was lost. No one really knew why she stood there day after day. Zara was waiting for someone. His name was Liam. He was a human who had promised her something important. Long ago, he had appeared in her world through a strange portal. At first, it was shocking. She had never seen anyone like him before. Liam was tall, with warm brown eyes and a kind smile. He had a curiosity in him that matched her own. They had explored their worlds together, talking about strange places, funny experiences, and small dreams. Before he left, Liam had turned to her with seriousness in his eyes. "I will come back," he had said, "and I will find you. I promise. No matter how long it takes, I will come." His words were full of hope, and Zara believed them. That day she had promised herself that she would wait for him. Zara's life changed after that. Every day she went to the same corner. Rain fell sometimes or snow covered the ground, but she did not leave. She carried a small bag with water, some food, and a notebook. In the notebook, she wrote everything she observed while waiting. She noticed how the city changed through seasons. She watched leaves fall and flowers bloom. She saw children play, old men walk with canes, and dogs run happily in the parks nearby. Cars and buses passed quickly, but she stayed calm. People noticed her. Some asked, "Why do you stand here every day?" Zara always smiled and shook her head. She never explained. Some strangers tried to talk to her. Some even offered food or a seat, but she politely declined. She had only one focus: waiting for Liam. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Zara learned to notice small details. She noticed how the wind carried the smell of fresh bread from a nearby bakery. She noticed the sound of pigeons on the roof of a building across the street. She noticed the way streetlights flickered at night, casting long shadows on the pavement. These small details gave her comfort and reminded her that the world was alive, even if Liam had not returned yet. Sometimes strangers were kind. On the 50th day, a small child handed her a single flower with a shy smile. On the 120th day, an elderly man gave her a warm blanket, saying it might help on cold nights. Zara accepted these gifts with gratitude but continued to stand at her corner. She did not move away. She believed that one day Liam's promise would be kept. Even though she waited, Zara did not feel lonely. She watched the city's life and sometimes talked quietly to herself about the stories Liam had shared. She imagined his face, his laugh, and the day he would finally return. Each evening, she looked at the golden and violet sky, reminding herself that the world was full of surprises and that one of those surprises could be Liam, returning to her corner. Through all the waiting, Zara's hope stayed strong. Her heart was patient, her spirit calm, and her mind focused. She knew that some promises took time, but she also knew that true promises were never broken. Standing there every day, Zara showed more than patience. She showed faith, courage, and the quiet strength to wait for something extraordinary. And so, Zara stayed at her corner, a girl with glowing hair and glowing eyes, waiting for the human who had promised to return. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Zara continued to stand at the same corner, her silver hair catching sunlight during the day and moonlight at night. The city changed around her. Buildings grew taller, shops opened and closed, and people hurried past without noticing her most days. Yet Zara remained calm. She had learned patience, and she had learned to observe the smallest details. One morning, as she arrived at her corner, she noticed something different. A small piece of paper was stuck under a stone near the edge of the sidewalk. She bent down and picked it up. It was blank, yet it seemed warm to touch. Zara tilted her head and studied it carefully. A soft vibration ran through her fingers, and she felt a strange connection, as if the paper was meant for her. She kept it in her notebook, a reminder that her waiting might not be unnoticed. The days that followed felt unusual. Birds seemed to sing louder near her corner, and the wind seemed gentler, almost playful. Zara smiled quietly. She had always believed that small signs mattered. She had learned from Liam that the universe sometimes spoke in tiny, invisible ways. Perhaps this was one of those times. On the 150th day, Zara noticed another unusual event. A bright light appeared far across the city, shining for only a few seconds before disappearing. Most people did not even notice it, but Zara did. She stared at the sky and whispered Liam's name softly. "Could it be you?" she asked. Her heart felt light and heavy at the same time. Hope and doubt danced together inside her. Despite these signs, Zara's life remained mostly quiet. She carried her notebook and recorded every observation, every small change in the city, and every unusual event. The notebooks grew thick, filled with sketches of buildings, clouds, and even people who had smiled at her while passing. She wrote about the children who waved, the elderly man who gave her blankets, and the shopkeeper who sometimes handed her a warm drink. Each note reminded her that she was not entirely alone, even if Liam had not returned yet. One afternoon, as Zara watched the street from her corner, she saw a group of children playing a game with a glowing ball. The ball's light reflected in her eyes, and for a moment she imagined it was a signal from Liam. She smiled. These little moments kept her spirit alive. They reminded her that the world was full of life, and waiting did not mean giving up on joy. Sometimes the waiting felt heavy. Clouds covered the sun, rain fell steadily, and the city seemed darker. On those days, Zara would close her eyes and remember Liam's words. "I will come back," he had promised. She repeated them quietly, letting the words lift her heart. She learned that patience was not only about waiting, but also about believing. Zara's presence at the corner began to attract attention from people who were curious. Some asked her why she stayed. Some laughed gently and suggested she try something new. But Zara remained kind and polite. She never shared her full story, only smiled and continued to watch for the one who mattered most. Her hope was quiet, but it was strong. As the months passed, Zara began to notice a pattern in the unusual events. The paper under the stone, the brief light in the sky, and the glowing reflections in unexpected places. She felt certain that these were signs meant to guide her, to tell her that she was close to something important. Her heart raced with anticipation, but she did not let excitement rush her. She had learned to be calm and patient, to wait for the exact moment when everything would be right. Every night, Zara looked at the stars, imagining Liam traveling through space to find her. She felt a quiet connection, as if her hope and his promise created an invisible bridge between their worlds. No matter how long it took, she knew he would return. And until that day, Zara continued to stand at her corner, a silent figure with glowing hair and bright eyes, watching, waiting, and believing in the promise that had changed her life forever. The city moved in its usual rhythm, but for Zara, every day felt different. She had learned to notice the smallest changes around her corner. A new shop would open across the street, a tree would grow taller, or a stray cat would curl up in the sunlight. Every detail mattered to her, and every small moment gave her patience a reason to grow. One morning, something unusual happened. As Zara approached her corner, she noticed footprints that did not belong to humans. They were small, delicate, and shimmered faintly in the sunlight. She bent down carefully and traced them with her fingers. A soft warmth ran through her hand. Her heart beat faster, but she remained calm. This was a sign, she thought, a sign that something important was very near. Over the next few days, Zara saw more signs. A light appeared on the tallest building in the city for only a few seconds, and a soft melody seemed to float in the wind when no one else was around. She could feel these signs as if they were meant only for her. Her hope grew stronger with each passing day. Zara also began to notice people watching her differently. A group of young artists sometimes stopped and sketched her quietly. They whispered to each other, pointing to her shimmering hair and glowing eyes. Instead of feeling uncomfortable, Zara smiled. She had always felt different, but now she understood that being different was her strength. It helped her notice things that others could not see. One evening, a small boy approached her with a glowing stone in his hand. He said nothing, only handed it to her and ran away. Zara held it carefully. The stone pulsed softly like it had a heartbeat of its own. She opened her notebook and placed it there. Every strange event now seemed connected, like pieces of a puzzle that would soon reveal a bigger picture. Despite these unusual signs, Zara never let herself become impatient. She remembered Liam's promise and she trusted it fully. She knew that waiting was not easy, but it was part of the journey. Every day she spent at the corner made her stronger, more aware and more ready for the moment Liam would appear. Zara also began to talk to herself quietly, as if sharing her thoughts with a friend. She imagined what Liam might be doing in his world. Was he looking for her? Was he thinking about the corner where she waited? These thoughts comforted her. They reminded her that even though she waited alone, she was never truly alone. Liam's promise connected them across worlds like an invisible bridge. One afternoon, as the sun began to set, Zara noticed movement in the shadows of a nearby building. She held her breath. A figure appeared, walking carefully toward her corner. The figure was human, but the way it moved was cautious and deliberate. Zara's heart beat faster. Could it be Liam? She waited patiently, watching every step. The figure stopped at the edge of the sidewalk and looked around. Zara could see the light of curiosity and recognition in his eyes. Her body trembled slightly with excitement, but she did not move too quickly. She had learned that some moments required patience, not haste. That night, as Zara returned to her small room near the city, she placed all the strange signs she had collected in her notebook. Footprints, glowing stones, lights in the sky, and soft melodies. Everything told her a story she could almost understand. She smiled softly. She knew that the moment of reunion was near. She could feel it in her heart, in the rhythm of the city, and in the signs that whispered to her. Zara lay down to sleep, her mind full of hope and imagination. She pictured Liam walking through the city streets, following the signs as she had. She imagined their reunion, the first words they would speak and the adventures they would share. For the first time in many months, Zara felt that tomorrow might be the day she had waited for so long. And so, with her hope brighter than ever, Zara continued her journey of waiting, standing at the corner with her glowing eyes and shimmering hair, ready for the human who had promised to return. Days passed slowly, but for Zara, every moment was filled with anticipation. The city felt different now. Every sound, every movement seemed to carry a message meant just for her. The wind rustled leaves in unusual patterns, and sunlight created reflections on buildings that danced like tiny signs. Zara noticed all of it. She had grown skilled at seeing what others overlooked. One morning, she arrived at her corner to find another sign. A small feather, shimmering faintly, lay on the pavement. It was not from any bird she had seen before. She bent down and picked it up carefully. The feather felt warm and soft, almost alive. She held it close to her chest, feeling a surge of hope. It was a message, she knew it. Someone or something was guiding her. As the days went by, Zara's attention to small details became even sharper. She began to notice the way people moved around her. Some gave her curious glances. Others smiled softly, sensing the quiet determination she carried. She did not speak much to strangers anymore, but she observed everything. The sounds of footsteps, the rhythm of passing cars, and even the way light fell on the streets. Each observation made her feel more connected to the city and more certain that the moment she had been waiting for was approaching. One evening, the sky turned a brilliant shade of orange and pink. Zara noticed a figure in the distance standing at the edge of a park across the street. The figure seemed hesitant, as if unsure where to go. Zara's heart skipped a beat. She recognized the posture, the careful movements. It felt familiar. Could it be Liam? She remained still, her eyes fixed on the figure. Every fiber of her being was alert, waiting. As days turned into nights, Zara continued to notice small, unusual signs. Lights flickered briefly in empty buildings. Soft whispers floated with the wind, and shadows moved in ways that seemed almost purposeful. Each sign made her pulse quicken. She felt as though the universe itself was guiding Liam toward her. She held on to the hope tightly, reminding herself that patience was a quiet strength, not a weakness. Zara also found comfort in her routines. She carried her notebook everywhere, recording each small detail, each unusual sign, and each person who offered kindness. She sketched the feather, the light patterns, and the mysterious movements she noticed around her corner. Each sketch was a part of the story, a piece of the puzzle that would one day lead to reunion. One afternoon, while she was observing a group of children playing near a fountain, she felt a sudden shift in the energy around her. The air seemed lighter, and the sounds of the city felt softer, more focused. She turned slowly and caught a glimpse of a familiar shape moving through the crowd. Her heart leapt. Every instinct in her body told her that the moment she had been waiting for was very close. Despite the excitement building inside her, Zara remained calm. She had learned that some moments needed patience, not haste. She took deep breaths and waited, her eyes never leaving the figure that seemed to move closer with each passing second. She felt a connection, invisible yet undeniable, pulling them toward each other. That night, Zara returned to her small room near the corner, her mind filled with thoughts of what was about to happen. She placed the feather carefully in her notebook, alongside the other signs that had guided her. She imagined Liam walking through the streets, feeling the signs as she had, and smiling at the thought of finally finding her. Her hope shone brighter than it ever had. Zara lay down, her eyes closing gently, yet her mind remained alert. She dreamed of the corner, the city, and the approaching figure. She imagined the first words they would exchange, the smile they would share, and the journey that would follow. For the first time in many months, Zara felt that the waiting might soon end, and the promise might finally be fulfilled. With quiet determination, Zara prepared herself for the coming days. She would continue to stand at her corner, her hair shimmering, her eyes glowing softly, and her heart full of hope. She knew that patience and belief had brought her closer to the human who had promised to return, and soon, everything might change. The morning sun spilled golden light across the city, and Zara stood at her corner as she had done for hundreds of days. Her silver hair glowed softly, and her eyes reflected the light in a way that made her look almost magical. But today felt different. There was a new energy in the air, one that made her heart beat faster and her senses sharper. Zara had noticed a figure moving carefully through the streets for days. The figure seemed familiar, and today it was closer than ever. She could see the way it walked with cautious steps, as if it too had been waiting for a long time. Her heartbeat quickened, yet she stayed calm. She had waited patiently, and now she could almost feel the promise coming to life. The figure stopped a few meters away, pausing as if to gather courage. Zara recognized the posture immediately. Liam. Her mind whispered his name before her lips did. She felt a warmth spread through her chest, a mixture of excitement and relief. She had imagined this moment countless times, but now it was real. Zara stepped forward slowly, careful not to rush. Her hands trembled slightly, but her smile was steady. Liam noticed her instantly. His eyes widened, and then a gentle smile spread across his face. For a moment, neither spoke. The city around them seemed to fade, leaving only the two of them at the corner. Finally, Liam spoke. "Zara." His voice was soft, filled with emotion, and full of the promise he had made so long ago. Zara nodded, tears forming in her eyes, but she held them back. She wanted to see him, to be near him without letting words rush the moment. Liam took a careful step closer, his gaze never leaving hers. "I promised I would return," he said. "And here you are. You waited for me all this time." His voice carried wonder, respect, and admiration. Zara's heart swelled. She had waited through every season, every change, every lonely day, and now her patience was met with the fulfillment of a promise. "I never stopped believing," Zara said softly. "I knew you would come back." Her voice was steady, but inside it carried the excitement of 1,000 sunrises. Liam smiled, moved by her words. He could see the truth in her eyes, the strength of her patience, and the hope that had kept her standing at the corner. They began to walk together slowly, side by side, as the city around them carried on. People glanced curiously, noticing the glowing eyes and shimmering hair of the girl, and the careful, smiling presence of the human walking beside her. But Zara and Liam felt nothing but connection. The long wait had ended, and their journey together could finally begin. As they walked, Zara showed Liam the signs she had collected over the months: the shimmering feather, the glowing stone, the notebook filled with sketches and observations. Liam looked at each item carefully, touched by the thoughtfulness and care she had put into preserving every detail. He realized how deeply she had felt his promise, and he was grateful that she had never given up hope. Zara and Liam talked as they walked, sharing stories of their separate experiences since they had last met. Zara spoke of the city, the people, and the unusual signs that had guided her. Liam told her of the journey through worlds, the challenges he had faced, and the hope that had kept him moving toward her corner. Their voices blended with the sounds of the city, creating a gentle harmony of reunion and discovery. By the time the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and violet, Zara and Liam sat together on a small bench near the corner. They watched the city lights flicker on, feeling the warmth of connection and the magic of promises fulfilled. The long wait had brought them here, and they both understood that patience, belief, and trust had been the strongest guides in their journey. Zara leaned slightly against Liam, feeling a sense of peace she had not felt in a long time. Liam placed his hand gently over hers, and they both smiled. Words were no longer needed. They had found each other, and that was enough. The promise had been kept, and a new chapter of their lives was about to begin. After the long-awaited reunion, Zara and Liam spent the first few days slowly getting used to being together again. The city around them seemed brighter, and even the smallest sounds, the rustle of leaves, the distant laughter of children, the soft hum of passing cars, felt magical. Every detail seemed alive because they shared it. Zara guided Liam to her favorite spots near the corner. She showed him the small flower she had received from a child, the bench where she had often rested while waiting, and the little cafe where an elderly man sometimes gave her warm drinks. Liam listened carefully, smiling at every story. He realized how much patience and hope had shaped her days. Each moment had been important, and he felt proud that she had stayed true to the promise they had made to each other. One morning, Zara and Liam walked along the city streets, sharing their thoughts. Liam noticed how Zara observed every detail, the way shadows stretched across the walls, the gentle sway of trees, and the patterns of sunlight on the pavement. She showed him the notebooks filled with sketches and notes, each one carefully drawn and written. Liam was amazed. "You have seen things I would never notice," he said softly. Zara smiled, feeling a warm glow inside. The city itself seemed to welcome their reunion. People began to recognize them, not just as strangers but as a pair connected in a way that was quiet yet powerful. Some smiled as they passed, sensing the harmony and hope that Zara and Liam carried. The girl with shimmering hair and glowing eyes and the human who had promised to return now walked together, sharing laughter, stories, and quiet moments of reflection. Zara introduced Liam to the unusual signs she had noticed during her waiting: the glowing stones, the shimmering feathers, and even the strange lights in the sky. Liam examined each item with care. He could feel the connection between Zara and the signs, as if the world had guided her steps in his journey toward this very moment. He realized that their meeting had not been random. It had been written in the subtle patterns of life around them. As they explored, Zara shared her favorite hidden spots in the city. There was a small park filled with flowers that glowed softly at night, a quiet bridge over a river where the reflections looked like stars, and an old library where sunlight streamed through stained glass windows. Liam felt amazed. Every place was familiar to Zara but new to him, and each one seemed to carry a story waiting to be discovered. One afternoon, while sitting on a bench in the quiet park, Liam asked Zara about her feelings during the long wait. She looked down at her hands, then up at him and said, "Every day was hard, but I never stopped believing. The world gave me little signs, and they reminded me that hope is always alive, even when it feels distant." Liam nodded, understanding the depth of her patience. He realized that this journey had taught them both something important, that trust, hope, and belief could guide people through the most uncertain times. Together, they began planning small adventures. They talked about exploring nearby forests, visiting mountains, and watching sunsets from rooftops. Zara felt joy in imagining these journeys with Liam by her side. Liam, too, felt excitement at the thought of sharing life with someone who had waited so faithfully. Every plan, every idea, seemed brighter because they would experience it together. As evening came, Zara and Liam returned to the corner where they had first met. They stood quietly, holding hands, watching the city lights flicker on. The same city that had been a place of waiting and patience had now become a place of connection, discovery, and shared moments. The promise had been fulfilled, but the journey was just beginning. Zara smiled at Liam, her eyes glowing softly in the dim light. Liam smiled back, understanding that the bond between them was stronger than ever. They had waited, believed, and found each other. Now together they could explore the world with hope in their hearts and wonder in their minds. Zara and Liam spent the morning planning a small journey outside the city. They wanted to explore the areas Liam had only heard about and the places Zara had noticed while waiting. The thought of stepping into new spaces together filled them both with excitement. Zara had never imagined sharing these moments with anyone, but with Liam by her side, everything felt brighter. As they walked through the city streets, they noticed familiar faces. People who had seen Zara at the corner smiled and waved. Some recognized Liam, sensing that he was the one who had been promised. The small gestures of acknowledgement made their journey even more joyful. Zara felt proud that her patience and hope had not gone unnoticed. Liam felt grateful for her unwavering faith. They soon reached the edge of the city, where the streets became quieter and nature started to appear. Trees lined the roads, their leaves moving softly in the wind. Birds chirped happily and the air smelled fresh and clean. Zara led Liam to a hidden path she had discovered months before. It was narrow and covered with soft grass, and it opened into a small meadow filled with flowers of colors Liam had never seen. Liam looked around in wonder. "It's beautiful," he said, his voice full of awe. Zara smiled, feeling happiness bubble inside her. She had spent so many days observing the world from her corner, but now she could share it with someone who understood. "I wanted to show you this place," she said softly. "I hoped it would feel as special to you as it does to me." They explored the meadow together, noticing the tiny details that made it alive. Bees moved from flower to flower. Butterflies danced in the sunlight, and a small stream ran gently along the edge. Liam reached down to touch the water, and Zara laughed softly at his careful curiosity. It was a simple joy, yet it felt extraordinary because they shared it. After a while, they sat on a large rock near the stream, letting their legs rest and their minds wander. Liam asked Zara about the strange signs she had noticed during her waiting, the glowing stones, feathers, and lights. She explained how each one had given her hope and reminded her that Liam would return. Liam listened carefully, fascinated by the way she had interpreted the small details of her world. He realized that Zara's patience had not only been about waiting, but about understanding the beauty in everything around her. The afternoon sun began to set, painting the meadow in warm oranges and soft pinks. Liam and Zara decided to follow the stream, curious to see where it would lead. They walked slowly, talking about dreams, stories, and small adventures they wanted to share. Each step felt like a new discovery, and each conversation made their connection stronger. At one point, Liam spotted a small hill nearby. "Let's climb it," he suggested. Zara agreed, and together they made their way up. From the top, the view was breathtaking. The city lay in the distance, surrounded by green fields and winding roads. The sky was filled with colors that seemed impossible to name. Liam and Zara stood silently, taking it all in. Zara felt a deep sense of peace. This was what she had been waiting for. Not just the reunion, but the moments that came after. The chance to share her world with Liam, to explore and to discover together. Liam felt the same way. He realized that the promise had been more than a reunion. It had been the beginning of a journey filled with hope, wonder, and shared experiences. As the sun dipped below the horizon, they began to make their way back to the city. They walked slowly, enjoying the cool evening air and the quiet sounds of nature. Both of them felt that this journey had changed something inside them. It had shown them that waiting, believing, and exploring together could create moments that would last forever. By the time they returned to the city, night had fallen. The city lights reflected in the small river that ran near their corner. Zara and Liam paused to look at the reflections, smiling softly. They had shared a day of discovery, laughter, and quiet joy, and they knew that many more adventures awaited them. Each one as special as the moment they had finally found each other. The city was quiet in the early morning, with sunlight slowly touching the rooftops and streets. Zara and Liam stood at their corner, holding hands and looking at the world around them. This corner, where they had first met and where Zara had waited patiently for so long, now felt like a place of new beginnings. Zara smiled at Liam. "I never imagined this day would come so beautifully," she said softly. Liam returned the smile, feeling the warmth of her words and the strength of her patience. They had waited, hoped, and believed, and now they were together, ready to explore a future full of possibilities. After breakfast at a small cafe nearby, they decided to leave the city behind for a while. Liam wanted to show Zara the places he had visited in his world, and Zara wanted to share her hidden discoveries. They packed lightly, taking only the essentials along with her notebooks filled with sketches and the small signs she had collected over the months. Each item held a memory, a piece of the journey that had brought them together. Their first stop was a quiet forest just outside the city. Trees stretched high into the sky, and sunlight danced through the leaves, creating moving patterns on the forest floor. Birds sang above them, and the air smelled fresh and sweet. Zara walked carefully, her eyes wide with wonder. She had seen parts of nature from her corner, but being inside this forest with Liam made everything feel new and alive. As they wandered along the forest path, They discovered a small waterfall cascading into a crystal-clear pool. Liam knelt beside it, dipping his hand into the cool water, and Zara laughed softly at his curiosity. She knelt too, feeling the water rush over her fingers. It was a simple moment, but it felt magical. They realized that every adventure was more special because they shared it together. After exploring the forest, they reached a hill that overlooked a wide valley. The view was breathtaking. Fields stretched into the distance, rivers curved gently, and the sky glowed in shades of gold and orange. They sat on a large rock at the top, feeling the wind on their faces. Liam wrapped his arm around Zara and she leaned gently against him. In that quiet moment, they did not need words. The connection between them was stronger than ever. As the days passed, Zara and Liam continued to explore new places. They visited hidden valleys, sparkling lakes, and quiet meadows filled with flowers. Everywhere they went, they noticed small details that most people overlooked. The way sunlight reflected on water, the gentle movement of insects, or the faint colors of flowers in the shade. Zara taught Liam to see the world the way she had, with careful attention and quiet appreciation. One evening, after a long day of walking through forests and fields, they returned to the city. They paused at the corner where their journey had begun. Zara looked around, remembering the hundreds of days she had waited there, the signs she had noticed, and the hope that had kept her strong. Liam squeezed her hand gently, understanding without words the depth of her patience and belief. Zara smiled, feeling peace in her heart. "This corner will always remind me of how hope can guide us," she said. Liam nodded. "And it will remind us that every promise, when kept, can change everything," he replied. Together they looked at the city lights reflecting on the small river, feeling grateful for the journey that had brought them here. As night fell, they walked hand in hand through the quiet streets, imagining the adventures that awaited them. They knew that life was full of surprises and wonders, and that as long as they had each other, every day would be special. They had waited, believed, and discovered the beauty of hope, patience, and love. With glowing eyes, shimmering hair, and hearts full of excitement, Zara and Liam stepped into a future where every corner, every path, and every adventure would be shared together. The promise had been fulfilled, but their journey of wonder had only just begun. They walked forward, side by side, ready for everything the world had to offer, their bond stronger than ever, and their hearts open to every possibility.